And she asks, how does an individual begin to live a good Catholic life after being away from the church for a long time? I'm trying to help someone who is coming back to the church.
As far as returning to practicing the Catholic faith, after being away a long time, there are a number of reasons why someone might be away a long time. The most common reason, I think, at this day and age is because of the Novus Ordo. That people fell away because of the new order, the changes. They saw nothing in them, and there is nothing in them. I mean, they're empty. And so people saw there was no reason to continue going to the Novus Ordo liturgy, with its banality and its lack of sacredness and so on. Even the lack of the sacrifice. They realize, it's not centered around the sacrifice of Calvary anymore. And so they fall away, and some people can be away for 10, 20, 30 years or more. So when they do come back, they rediscover the traditional faith is still very much alive, and the traditional Catholic religion is still very much being practiced. What do? Well, they should really talk to a traditional Catholic priest. They should arrange to make a general confession. They should go to confession. They should want to get a good fresh start. That's a good start. Now, if they've been away for a long time and perhaps they never really learned the faith, they need to obtain a good catechism. Many of them, who might have been teenagers when they fell away, again, 10, 20, 30 years ago, before, would want to sit down with a Catholic priest and go through the catechism, just as a convert would. So they understand the faith very well. And as I say, they should be preparing to make a good confession. Obviously, they should check the question of whether their baptism was valid, because back in the 70s and 80s, a lot of these Novus Ordo clergymen were kind of making things up as they went along. They didn't even follow the Novus Ordo ritual in some cases. So one has to examine that question of whether the baptism that they received was certainly valid, make arrangements accordingly about that. If they're married, it would be a good idea for them to renew their marriage vows before a traditional Catholic priest, okay? To renew the marriage vows for the sake of the graces that would come through that. They should prepare to receive Holy Communion then as they would for their first Holy Communion. That was a great event to receive our Lord. Maybe they'd been receiving him in the Novus Ordo in the hand. Who knows what they were receiving. So they should really consider this to be a great event in their lives, the return to the practicing of the Catholic faith. Now, of course, for someone who returns, having been astray for whatever reason, because of sin, because of falling away from the Novus Ordo, they really have to have the idea of a real conversion. They really have to have the intention to learn their faith. And just as a convert, there are basically 3 requirements for a convert to be received into the church in the first place. That is, they have to learn what the faith is. Then they have to decide whether they believe it. Absolutely. They believe it is the truth, the one true faith. And then they have to agree to practice the Catholic religion with all of its morality and so on. They have to decide whether they're going to live the faith, okay? Once a convert learns the Catholic faith, decides that he or she believes the Catholic faith as a one true faith, brought to earth by the Son of God, as taught by the traditional Catholic Church which he established, and they make the decision they're going to practice the traditional Catholic religion in its integrity, they can become Catholics. They can be received into the church. Well, somebody who's been away for a long time, who might have been baptized Catholic, has to essentially go through that process, as it were, making those decisions all over again. In many cases, they have to learn the faith, which they never learned in the first place in the Novus Ordo. So, essentially, that's what I would say.
And as far as going over the catechism, obviously there's nothing better than actually sitting down one-on-one with a traditional priest, but we do have the playlist where you went over the brief catechism for adults, chapter by chapter, and we can certainly link to that.
I think we still have a few chapters to go.
I think
we better finish that up.
Just a few.
But we've covered almost all of the chapters in the brief catechism for adults, and they are available.
Yeah, and I know that's been a
what Catholics believe.
It's been a tremendous help to a lot of people. We've sent those links out a lot. So,
oh, good.
Yeah, I think they're definitely come in handy.